Leading up to Election Day, Tim Ryan is a Democratic congressman from Ohio and serves on the House Armed Services Committee. Congressman, thank you for being here. Let's talk about that briefing you were just in. Can you tell us anything that you did learn? Specifically, did we find out that anyone from Trump's team was in contact from anyone in Russia during the election?
Well, we can't talk about everything we heard in there, but the investigation, I think, continues to see because the gravity of the situation is so immense. I mean, this goes right to the heart of our democracy, and we've got to have members of Congress in the House, in the Senate, be very, very vigilant about this. Russia got involved in our election. I mean, this is some serious business. They were picking candidates in our election, trying to influence our election, and we've got to make sure that the American people recognize that we're not in a Cold War with Russia. In many ways, we're in a very hot war with Russia right now, and it's a very different war than the war that we picture in our minds from World War II or the past 20 or 30 years. This is happening right now. They're influencing and trying to influence elections all over the world. We've got to be very, very vigilant about what we're doing here to protect the sanctity of our democracy. We should all be very, very offended about what's happened here, and we need to take strong action. So
clearly it's a pretty tense time on Capitol Hill right now. You have James Comey, among other intel officers, briefing you there in Congress. But you also have James Comey facing his own criticism for his handling of Hillary Clinton's emails and releasing them before the election. Your colleague Maxine Waters walked out of that briefing and said he had no credibility. Do you believe that FBI Director James Comey has credibility?
Yeah, I think he does have credibility. Obviously, he made a calculation before the election that many of us clearly disagreed with. And having an investigation into that, I think, is appropriate because of the general checks and balances that we need to have in our system here. And so I think that's appropriate. And again, but to get back to the heart of the matter.
Well, does it? My question is, does it cloud potentially members who don't agree with what he did before the election? Does it cloud their judgment on his judgment for the Russian hacking?
Yeah, certainly. Well, I don't know directly.
Are they picking and choosing with what they're going to decide he has good judgment for?
Look, he was really in a difficult position. I'm not here to defend the man. He's purely capable of defending himself, and I completely disagreed with what he did before the election, and I do think it had an effect on the election. Would it have swung the election one way or the other? I'm not sure, but it certainly did have an effect a couple weeks before the election. But when you have the Republican Party breathing down your neck, not letting you operate in what many of us would think is your standard operating procedures, but the threat, the hammer hanging over the head.
So that was a politically motivated decision for him then? If you think the Republicans influenced him enough to go out and release these emails, that's a politically motivated decision.
Well, everything's a politically motivated decision.
You think the FBI was politically motivated?
Not one way or the other within the context of the election. I think in his heart he probably believed he was doing what he thought was right. I don't think he was trying to influence the election.
But you just said the Republicans were breathing down his neck.
They were, yeah. I mean, I think there was a concern for him if he didn't release it. But the standard operating procedure within the FBI, as I understand it, is to not speak about these things.
Okay, I want to get your...
But to have a hammer hanging over your head at the same time, I could see why he did what he did.
I want to get your take on what is